and let's talk about disruption and looking at the insurance industry in India. Our next talk is with a unicorn, Sarbvir Singh, CEO of PolicyBazaar.com. He'll be interviewed by Shanti Mohan, and they've got a talk around the disruption in India. So Shanti and Sarbvir, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to see everyone on the main stage at 5 p.m. So Shanti and Sarbvir, when you're finished up, just say thank you very much, and there won't be an MC to pass to, but we'll have a short video after your talk. So I'm looking forward to hearing more about the disruption in India, and over to you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to host this session with Sarbvir. I'm just going to, for the benefit of the audience, just going to take a minute to talk about Policy Bazaar and the insurance market in India. So if you know, the insurance market, which is the B2C insurance market in India, is about 15 billion, expected to grow to about 25 billion by about 2025. And out of this, the B2C online penetration is about 3%, and expected to grow to about 4 billion by 2025. And Policy Bazaar, where we are going to be kind of getting a lot more detail from Sarbvir today, has about 90% market share, so almost 20x of their next player. And they are India's largest online insurance aggregator platform. So welcome to this talk, Sarbvir. And as we get started, I would also love to share with the audience a little bit background on Sarbvir. So very, very interesting background. He is today the CEO of Policy Bazaar, but in his earlier avatar, he served as the managing partner at Waterbridge Ventures. He's an alumnus of IIT Delhi and IIM Ahmedabad. Sarbvir has a very rich experience of working with companies like Emerson Electric, Citibank, Home Shop 18, Network 18, JP Morgan. So done a lot of different roles. So, would love to start with, knowing what motivated you to join Policy Bazaar, leave all the investment world and really come into the B2C market, and would love to hear about what your first 100 days at Policy Bazaar looked like.
Yeah, thanks Shanti for a generous introduction. I think, as you said, for me, so I think there are two reasons why I joined Policy Bazaar. One is that Yashish, who's the founder and group CEO of Policy Bazaar, is a friend for the last 30 years or so. And we were together in IIT Delhi in the same hostel. And, so we've known each other for a long time. And I have been familiar with Policy Bazaar's journey, although I was never a direct investor in Policy Bazaar. And so I was very familiar with him. And I think his, when we discussed, I think his perspective was that Policy Bazaar and the group was actually becoming larger. And there were multiple streams. And he was actually wearing two hats. He was the CEO of the group as well as of Policy Bazaar. So he felt that it would be better for Policy Bazaar to have, a more focused person, just looking only at the insurance business. And that was the genesis of our discussion. And frankly, I think my comfort with him was the key driver in making this decision. And the second is that, it's an incredible opportunity. As you said, Policy Bazaar is the leading, digital distributor in India by far. And actually now what is true, Shanti, is that we are not just the leading digital distributor, but we are actually the leading distributor of insurance, whether online or offline. And the only person who's actually numerically bigger than us is Maruti, but they have a captive insurance, their own cars that they are selling. So if you look at it on a non-captive basis, we are larger and by a significant margin. So I think it's an incredible platform. The team that Yashish and Alok have built is amazing. I think they are very hardworking, dedicated, and effective bunch, I would say. So for me, honestly, it was a great opportunity, and I'm actually always grateful to him for having given me this chance. There's always a little bit of thing that in the investment business, you can kind of, it's a little easier actually, I feel. But I think the excitement and the energy that you get by having to be part of a real business every day, especially one that is doing well, is really infectious.
This is a very honest kind of view, Sarbvir. But what were the initial days looking like? I know you said that you started on a very strong relationship with the founders, and that actually makes it a lot more easier because you're not judged, and you know what you're getting into, you know the people around you. And I have met the founders of Policy Bazaar, and they're an amazing group of people. I think built something very incredible. But just as somebody who's taken over the business and the CEO, what were the first few months looking like for you?
So, Shanti, I was very clear that there was no crisis as such, so it was not that anything, there was no urgency that we needed to do something dramatic. And honestly, I feel maybe it's also not my personality to necessarily come in and, want to sort of throw my weight around in any way. So I actually took the first I would say first 4 to 6 weeks in really trying to understand the business. Insurance is a very atypical industry. Even though I've been in financial services all my life, it's a very different industry, very different set of people are there. And, in the general venture capital business that I was part of, you don't really see too many insurance plans. So, it was very new to me. So I really spent some time in understanding what do we do, why do we do it, talking a lot to our agents, us agents who sell to consumers, listening to a lot of calls, meeting consumers directly and asking them, why do you buy? Why do you not buy? See, many times the question of not buying is more important than buying, because, the person who's buying from you obviously generally thinks okay about you. It's the ones who don't buy from you who give you information. So I think that was the kind of key focus for me for the first 6 weeks or so. And after that, I think, we were able to agree on a set of priorities, right? As to what is it that I really should drive. Because as you know, I mean, Yashish is a very strong personality. He kind of knows, what is to be done, and he's been at it for 12 years. So it's, it's not like in 6 weeks I can, totally come in with a new agenda. So I think we worked it out. And one of the things that we realized was that while we have been very focused on the first part, so I look at any business as two moments of truth. One is when a person buys something, and the second is when they use it. So if you look at it from that perspective, the buying process Policy Bazaar has done a great job of. I mean, you can always argue over a few things we can do better, and we are always working on it. But the part after the buying of the policy, because see, insurance is a product where you get nothing, right? When you buy, all you get is a policy. There is no customer gratification, satisfaction. And the policy also is so complicated that an average person, can't understand what's written over there. So nobody even reads it. So, but after that comes the real issue, right? When you need something from the insurance company, maybe a certificate, and then if there's a claim. So that is the real moment of truth, when a person has bought something and then they want to use it. So what we are now focused on is that the first part of the journey was on sales. Now our focus is sales plus service plus claims. So we are trying to now more and more become what you could sort of in jargon call a neo insurance company, where we are not using our capital, we are not using the the pipes, the underwriting, etc., which our insurance partners do, but we are doing everything else. So from a customer's perspective, if you buy a policy from Policy Bazaar, you don't need to do anything else. You can always talk to us for service problems, you can talk to us for claims, and of course you can talk to us when you want to buy a new insurance policy. So I think what we are trying to do is to move in, and I think this is very much in line with what we are seeing in the world, right? That things are moving from products to bundles of products and services, and eventually to an ecosystem. You need to be present for the consumer wherever they need you. It can't be that, okay, I only do this part and then, I hand you over to somebody else where that person may or may not care for you as much. So I think that's the journey that we are on now, is to go beyond sales to, create a holistic experience for the consumer. And I think given the fact that we have a really good, I think one of the strengths of Policy Bazaar that is perhaps not as much well known is the fact that we have excellent relations with the insurance companies. I think the insurance companies understand for the first time that there is a distributor who cares about their profitability also, and not just, selling. So I think we're building on that to build better propositions for customers. And I mean, it's a journey. It's going to take a while, but this is what we're on now.
No, this is actually very interesting that you spoke about the two sources of truth, Sarbvir, and just coming back to the first source where people are buying insurance, right? I think what Policy Bazaar has done for India, right, is to change the user mindset or the paradigm from saying I am buying insurance for investment versus saying I'm buying insurance for insurance. right? And that is a very, very significant shift, because if a lot of the audience who don't know the Indian mindset, I think we look at a lot of our insurance policies traditionally, we have looked at it as something where I want to put a money aside and I want to use it as an investment tool later on. But I also get insurance along with it. But I think what we are now seeing is Policy Bazaar has created that mindset where I'm buying insurance for the sake of insurance, right? And just talk to us a little bit about that paradigm shift and, you know, how you saw the users kind of adopting to that mindset.
Absolutely, Shanti. I think you made a great point. I mean, this is really the ethos of our company, that we don't look at insurance in the traditional way, right? Which is around investment products or tax savings or something like that. What we have actually, the way we look at our business is that we look at it from a protection perspective. And in protection, we consider term insurance, which protects you against mortality. And then we consider health insurance, which protects you against morbidity. And what we are really focused on, and actually, Policy Bazaar, every company has a founding story. And here, one of the drivers of setting up Policy Bazaar was something that happened to Yashish's father, right? Where he was generally, missold a policy and various things happened. But I think, so the general origin and the ethos of the company is to say that the Indian middle class needs protection against death, disease, and disability. So these are the three, areas that they need this protection. And as you know, we are a country which is sort of, becoming developed. We are on a developing country moving forward towards being a developed country. So we don't have the government systems or the society systems like a social security or some other kind of net which can protect the middle class. So the government rightfully is focused on the lower income classes and are trying to put in place policies and systems to protect them. But for the middle class, there is nothing. And, as you move up, you realize that everybody wants to have, wants their family to have a good lifestyle, irrespective of whether they are there or not. They want their family to be able to go to the best hospitals in town. Like, one thing we found is that people who even have access to, let's say, government hospitals buy health insurance, private health insurance, because they, as soon as you start making some money, you want your family to have the best experience possible. And you would know, Shanti, that in India, we care a lot about our family, right? So that whole, it really is that ethos. So we realized early on that this is a very important point. Now, this is a very hard journey. It has been a very hard journey for Policy Bazaar. I think today, touch wood, with God's grace, we are a unicorn and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is it took a long time to get there. And I think the reason, and it really shows for other founders maybe who are listening, that if you believe that you're right, sometimes you have to just go on a very lonely journey for a while, because it may take 7-8 years before the world understands. And we've been on this journey to move insurance from a push product sold by agents for their own benefit to a pull product, where we are saying that, look, we are explaining to you why you should buy this, and then you come to our platform and you buy it yourself. So that has a huge number of advantages in terms of declarations made by customers, in terms of quality of business that we are able to give to our insurance partners. But it's a hard road, because it takes a while to convince people and move in that direction. And I think by some count, we've spent close to $200 million over the last 10-12 years to educate customers and, reach this point. Because as you know, still 95% or more of the industry is non-protection. It's still focused around either mandatory products like, motor insurance or two-wheeler insurance, or savings products where people don't sometimes, in fact, in most cases, I feel people don't understand what they are buying, and the fact that the returns on those policies are actually quite low, given the reality. But, there are other reasons why they buy them.
Yes. So actually, Sarbvir, you kind of briefly touched on my next question, where we talked about, Policy Bazaar is known to be a company which has never chased valuations, which has never taken the unicorn tag as much as what other founders would wear it on their shoulders, right? But really, you kind of talked about it briefly, saying that, when you want to do the right thing, don't worry about the unicorn. It will come to you if you're doing the right thing for the business, if you're doing the right thing for a customer, right? But just from the perspective of looking back on that journey, right, and to so many founders in the room, right, what would be your, 1 or 2 points of advice to founders as they look to build scalable companies? Because I also personally, LetsVenture being in that early stage investment space, right, we see a lot of founders, right? And sometimes we actually think that a lot of entrepreneurs chase it for some of the wrong reasons, right? Where they're saying, how much more money can I raise, right? And how can I, how can I aspire to kind of become bigger, right? Very quickly, right? So just to kind of also hear from you, Sarbvir, there.
Yeah, I think, and I'll expand on perhaps what I started by saying, that I think you need to be very clear on what is your perspective or point of view. And I'll give you examples of that, and or rather explain what it's been for Policy Bazaar. But I also think that both things are important. One is that you must be focused on your goals and objectives, right, as to what you believe is your mission. But you also have to be flexible in how you achieve the mission, because see, the truth of the matter is that when you're a small company, the world is not going to bend towards you, right? You have to bend for the world, and you have to figure out how you're going to get to your goals without running into some obstacle, right? And if you look at Policy Bazaar, I think, and of course, I've been here only for 6 months, so I'm using the benefit of what I know to give this answer, that there was very clarity on a few very important points. One, there was extreme clarity on what kind of products we want to sell, right? That we want to sell protection products, not savings products, because the easiest thing would have been to try and start selling savings products online, right? That would have been the traditional way of doing it. But I think we're very clear that we want to, this is the right product for India. And Shanti, you'll be amazed to know that actually there was a time when we were doing more than 50% of the overall term market in India was being sold by one online platform. And of course, it was because term was small, and now term has become bigger, and we still have 25-30% share of that. But
yes,
we almost created this market in India of saying that you should buy pure protection and not investment products. So I think that was a high level of clarity around the mission, that you want to sell these kind of products. The second thing was, I think, clarity around the process, that look, we want direct traffic. So again, we are one of the few companies, I would say, who are not dependent on Google or Facebook for our traffic. We use Google and Facebook just like everybody else, but 85% of our traffic and a greater percentage of our sales actually come from people who type Policy Bazaar, whether Policy Bazaar or policybazaar.com or something like that. So they come to us directly, not through anybody else. So tomorrow, if we spend zero money on Google or Facebook, we would still, be able to sell probably 90% of what we are selling today. So I think that focus on direct traffic and owning the customer is very important. Many times in the beginning, there is a tendency to over focus on partnerships and various other things. But if the customer is not yours, then, I believe that you're going to have a long-term problem. And the third thing I would say is in building a logical revenue model. So while, still Policy Bazaar is not profitable at a group level, and, we're investing in certain activities, but if you see the core business of Policy Bazaar, the insurance side, we are a profitable business. And honestly, it has generally been profitable. It's not that it became profitable last year. It has more or less over the years been close to profitable. And the reason is, again, because we really focused on the revenue model as to say, how are we going to earn the money and, to spend based on what we are earning. So a large portion of the money that we have raised is still with us. And of course, some has been invested in the insurance business, and actually greater than the insurance business, we've invested in the financial services business. So I think the point that founders should also understand is that, of course, you need to have capital. You need to make sure that you're adequately funded. But the other thing is, try to get to a business model which, unless you're building Facebook or something, which is, very clearly, which has some sense of revenue and how you're going to make money. Because very often, I think what happens, Shanti, is that revenue actually gives you a sense whether you're on the right path or not, right?
Yes.
And if you're not getting paid at all, right? And like I said, with some honorable exceptions, if you're not getting paid at all, then it might indicate that there is some problem in your business model, which in the long run will catch you, whether, you may get away for a few years, but it will get you. So I would say that these three broad things, very clarity on product and mission, clarity on how to go about getting it done. And the third thing was always, stay focused on the business model, to say that if we are not getting, money, that means maybe there's something that we are doing which is wrong. So, and I can even give you examples where Policy Bazaar did a few things which they've retracted from when they realized that this is not a sustainable business model.
No, this is very, very valuable nuggets for founders, right? Where you talk about clarity of mission, vision, clarity of process, execution, and to ensure that you're getting customers to pay for your product, right? In a small way, because that that builds the value of what you're trying to build in the marketplace, right? Absolutely. So Sarbvir, talk to us about the last, you have joined and then this entire COVID thing happened. And I think everybody has been caught in a space where they've been like, it's like literally the deer caught in the headlights, right? Like not prepared. It was not a gradual slowdown. It was a very, very sudden slowdown. But with that, we see the focus on healthcare, right? And with the associated focus on healthcare, we also see, I'm sure there is a spike in insurance because now people are suddenly worried about their loved ones. So how did you see the business kind of grow or change in the last 100 days of COVID?
Yeah, no, I think Shanti, you said it right. I think it is a big dislocation, and it kind of came, frankly, while you could say that we should have seen it coming, but it kind of came very suddenly, I think, definitely in India.
Yes.
We initially had a huge problem. We have over 10,000, agents who work in our sales and service divisions. And, for the longest time, it was believed that the only way to do it was to have them sit in, well-organized buildings and, using company systems and equipment. And within a week, we had to kind of turn it around, and all credit to my colleagues in technology and operations who were really able to swing something that big in March. So March, is the biggest month for insurance companies, right? It's the peak season. So in peak season on the 19th, we had to, literally from the 12th we started, and by 19th we had moved everybody to work from home. Touchwood, it went really well. Our productivity on the 20th was 20% higher than the 19th. So we didn't skip a beat. And I think here I would also give a lot of credit to our agents. See, another strength, which is not always well understood about Policybazaar, is that we have a very strong agent compensation model. So actually it goes across the company that there is a strong focus on merit, that everybody in this company who has risen, like if you see the management team also, the people who have come to the top have come through a fairly rigorous process. It's not, anybody's favorites or anything like that. And these people are really very, very competent.
Yes.
And the same thing is true of our agents. They are extremely competent. They understand what it is, because one thing we do is that we promise them that the earnings opportunity in Policybazaar is 2x of the earnings opportunity anywhere else. So if you are a good insurance agent, there is no other place you should be except for Policybazaar, because of the kind of business you can make. I mean, forget about us. It's not about us. It's about them. The tools that you get, the quality of leads that you get, everything is, very high level. So that helped us. Sorry. Yeah.
So then do you think this would actually change the way Policybazaar is going to do business? Because what I hear from you is, you've kind of become, so is it now showing you a new model of working where you don't need so many offline and things can be more technology enabled?
Absolutely. I think, Shanti, two things have changed for us. One is that what is possible from home. So I think it opens up a whole new way of working. We can clearly have 30 to 40, maybe even 50% of our workforce always working from home. It opens up a new demographic for us. So many times there are especially women, right, who join us in their early age, let's say in their 20s, and then as they get married and, start a family, they have to leave us because they are not able to come every day. But now what we've realized is that our best agents, we don't need to police them, right? We don't need to say that you have to be there 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours. We can say, if you earn so much, you will get so much money. And we pay a salary also. See, we are very fair because we can understand what your earnings estimate is. So all we are doing in a salary is paying you in advance against your earnings, right? It's not actually so complicated. So we are now going to open a new demographic. So I think greater number of women will be able to work with us for longer. Second thing is, we have always been we are very strong in the north of India, as you probably know. We are not as strong in the south of India. So we are now actually going to the south this year, where instead of opening offices and buildings, we will actually hire people at home and we will do their training, etc. Give them the tools and they will be able to work for us in local languages. So the whole model of having to run a centralized operation changes to a very decentralized model. So I think work from home and this whole thing has had a silver lining for us. And also, let me answer your question about demand. Demand has, as you said, for protection products has been extremely robust. Our health business has been growing over 100% for the last 3 months. Our term business has grown about 50-60%. If you compare this with the industry, the health industry is growing in the 5 to 10% range. So we are, about 10 times that. And the life insurance industry is actually declining at about 20-30%. So again, there's a huge gap between us. And again, it's not a surprise, because if you can't meet agents and if you can't go to bank branches, then buying online, becomes a very necessary thing. And this has brought, like for us, what is amazing is that it has brought people from many smaller towns. So earlier we used to get a lot of business from the larger towns also. But now we are getting a lot of business even from smaller towns, and many times they break into the top 10, top 20 list in our company, and we are always surprised by that. And we are really, our focus actually is totally to make sure that the people who are coming will get such a good experience that they will understand that it's much better to buy online than offline. And I think in that sense, it's a unique opportunity for us to drive home the value of our business model and really build on it. So right now, from a business perspective, I think we can't complain. I think things are going well. But we are also, obviously supremely focused against it. You'll find that we are very aggressive in terms of marketing and our presence to make sure that customers are fully aware that if they need to buy a policy, we are there and, we can deliver for them.
Yeah. So just as someone who is talking to you, Sarbvir, I think one of the points which I observe is your equal passion for your employees as well as for your customer, right? So to create that balance of actually creating a very motivated organization as well as creating value for your customers, I think that is probably your winning formula to becoming the market leader, to being the unicorn. I can see that when you're talking about it, right? When you're talking about how can I make my employees more comfortable, right? How can I give them something in advance so that they deliver to their best, right? And those thought processes cannot just come in a conversation if it is not deeply ingrained in how you think about the organization, right? So that is really good to hear you say that.
Shanti, that is very, very, you picked up a very key point. We are very, very focused on that. And it is, I think, my belief, and I think our company's belief, that if we have, but I must also tell you that we are very clear that it has to be merit driven. So our best agents, so again, I'll just share with you, this year we are running a plan where our best agents could win up to 25 to 50 houses. So at the end of this year, and the way business is going, is probably going to be closer to 50 than 25. People will get 2-bedroom apartments in Gurgaon or wherever they choose to get them as a reward for their performance. So we want to change the whole paradigm that people should feel that this is a lifelong. I mean, it's something that they can do. If you're good at something, you can do it for a while and you will get rewarded. It's not that, we want to change that concept that agent means certain thing, right? I mean, agent on a phone has a certain connotation. We are trying to change that and say that you can build your business with us and we will reward you in a manner that nobody would have thought possible because you are generating value. But I must also tell you that it is very merit driven. So if you are an agent who's not doing well in our system, then honestly, you may not like us so much, because we are also very clear that we want to make sure that people who do well are rewarded and people who don't do well, then also have to change. That way it's a system that works on that principle.
So to just kind of close this conversation, Sarbvir, since we talked about the agents, the customer, at LetsVenture, we've developed a ESOP management tool, right? Where we actually developed a cap table and an ESOP management tool, which is given free to founders. But as part of that, we also realized how not understood is the ESOP policy, right? Like while you talk about those grants, I mean gifts to agents, I think for employees who are working within Policybazaar, as well as just from your view as an investor, right? How would you recommend to founders on the call, right? How should they look at the ESOP policy, and just from your experience of across the spectrum of what you've done?
Yeah, I think Shanti, it's what you guys are doing. I think is really great, because ESOPs are highly misunderstood and somewhat can be in fact almost to the point of abused, I would say, area. Now, luckily in India, we have seen some people who've done a great job, right? Who have shown the value of ESOPs to their employees, and I think that's really great. What I would suggest to founders always is that, be open and be fair. See, sometimes founders, especially initially, make the mistake. They don't have a sense of how much ESOP to give, right? And then either they give too much or too little, and then they feel bad about it, later on. and then they try to use other underhand means to then, withdraw those ESOPs or not give the benefit to the people and all that. So my suggestion to people always is always that if you have an ESOP pool, please allocate it fairly, and do allocate it. I've seen promoters, 5 years into the company's formation and the ESOP pool is still lying 95%, unallocated. That makes no sense to me, right? So I think you should be fair, allocate based on sort of the importance of the role and time. See, the other thing that you should never see, somebody may be your best friend, maybe a highly, great employee on day one, but never make the mistake of overcompensating them on day one. You have to have a system which gives them, fairly over a period of time. And that, creates a good, positive, healthy relationship, but do give it to them. And as you grow up, I think it is good that you show them the value of that ESOP by allowing them to sell into, future rounds and things like that, so that they can also generate some wealth for themselves. Like at Policy Bazaar, there were 18 people who founded the company, and I think 17 are still there. And, obviously all of them have done extremely well, deservedly so, because, they took salary cuts. They probably, were not paid in some months. All those things happened. Now, this is the upside for them. And so, but I think it's very fair. They know who they are, they know how much they own, and what is worth. So I would just say to founders that, or an investor to help you in, telling you what you should do and how you should do it. But please do share the wealth. I think one thing I've seen, one mark of a good founder, so-called good founder, is people who are willing to share the wealth, and it's in a very strange karmic way, it pays off. If you give to people, people give back to you. And over time, somehow, it's better than not giving. And I remember a quote from Mr. Murthy at Infosys, where he said that somebody, I think they gave away a large portion of the company, and someone asked him whether he was sort of repentant about it. And he said, no. The only thing I wish is I had given it to the right people. So I think that's something that, one should be careful about. But sharing is, it sounds a little corny and all that, but I think sharing is very important because, being a founder is a lonely journey, especially upfront. The fame only comes later. But it's a lonely journey. So the more real friends you have, right, the more people that you can have who are invested with you, I think it really helps. And, I would highly encourage doing that.
No, this is actually really inspiring, about talking about wealth creation and talking about value creation, right? Value creation for customers, wealth creation for employees. I think then you have a very good, successful formula there. I would love to see if there are any questions from the audience. I just thought we should kind of keep aside maybe like 5 to 8 minutes, because you have talked about so many different things, and if there is anything which the audience would want to ask, I don't know the format of the event as well, but should we kind of allow some audience questions here? Or is it just a fireside chat? Okay, I don't think there are, okay, there are no questions as of now. Okay, yes. No, thank you for the very, very insightful discussion, Sarbvir. I really enjoyed talking to you, because I actually know Policy Bazaar, because, they are one of the, besides being one of the unicorns, I think they're also one of the good places to work with, right? As well as, they have that credibility in the ecosystem of being a very fair company to employees, a very great founding team, a great place to be associated with. So, we wish you luck in your journey with Policy Bazaar.
Thanks for the kind words also, Shanti. And yeah, thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you so much.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
Thanks.